As a CEO, my wife is incredibly wealthy, yet she's always worried I'm after her inheritance. She keeps a tight rein on our finances, allowing my daughter and me just $200 a month for spending money. However, when her first love came back to the country, she didn't hesitate to shower him with a luxury car and a mansion worth millions to welcome him. Later, when my daughter had a sudden heart attack, the only thing that could save her was a $10,000 surgery. Instead, I was accused of being ambitious and was thrown out of the company by security. I watched as my daughter passed away in the operating room while my wife boarded a plane for a joyful world tour with her first love. After I finished arranging my daughter's funeral, my wife returned from her trip as indifferent as ever. She said, "Hey, didn't you and our daughter always want to go to the amusement park? I'll take you next week." But she didn't know that the moment our daughter died on that operating table, I was ready to end our marriage. I was packing up my daughter's belongings when my wife Adeline, who had just returned from her world tour, casually walked back into our home. "Declan, can you massage my shoulders? The trip really wore me out." Hearing this, I, who once cherished her dearly, remained silent and continued packing. Seeing that I ignored her, Adeline frowned, then suddenly laughed as if something amusing had crossed her mind. "Are you still jealous about Jasper and me traveling together?" Jasper was her childhood friend. Adeline had left our daughter, who was gravely ill, to travel the world with this friend, letting our daughter die on a cold operating table. Thinking about my daughter's eyes slowly losing their warmth felt like a dagger through my heart. Before I could speak, Jasper walked in, feigning innocence. "Oh, Declan, it's all my fault for dragging Adeline on the trip. But don't worry, it was just a trip, nothing more." He spoke lightly, yet they wore matching outfits and rings, looking like a genuine couple in public. Meanwhile, the wedding ring Adeline and I shared had long been discarded by her. Seeing that I still wouldn't speak, Adeline sighed, looking helpless. "All right, don't be mad. I'll send an extra $500 this month for Anna to get something nice. Just remember, I'm doing this for you. No need to thank me." But looking at the transaction on my phone, I felt nothing but mockery. She had spent millions on a world tour with Jasper, buying luxury brands where a single bag costs thousands. Yet now, giving me $500 felt as if she was doing me a huge favor. Jasper stood by, trying to suppress his laughter, sarcastically saying, "Declan, $500 is quite a bit. You should thank Adeline. Let me tell you, kids should be raised modestly so they won't be materialistic when they grow up." As absurd as it was, Adeline believed it. To prevent our daughter from being materialistic, she strictly controlled our expenses, giving only $200 monthly. I used to argue because I wanted a better life for our daughter, but now she's gone. Arguing means nothing. With this thought, I returned the money and said calmly, "No need, I don't want it." Adeline's smile froze. Then she helplessly said, "Declan, I already apologized. What more do you want?" Before I could speak, Jasper's mocking voice came from the side. "I think he just thinks $500 is too little, right? Declan, not to be harsh, but with your greedy attitude, how can you be a good example for Anna?" He lectured me condescendingly. Hearing this, Adeline also looked at me with disappointment. "Declan, we've been married a few years, and you're already this greedy. In a few more years, are you planning to take over the shares and inheritance from my family?" Listening to Adeline's accusation, I couldn't help but laugh at myself. After all this time, this is how she sees me. But my silence to her seemed like guilt. The next moment, Adeline spoke with irritation. "Looks like Jasper was right. You're not a fit father. I'm doing this to teach our daughter resilience. If you keep this up and Anna turns out materialistic and greedy like you, can we still call this a family?" Looking at her seriousness, I found it ironic. Her so-called resilience was scolding me for asking for a little extra for groceries, accusing me of eyeing her inheritance. Even when our daughter scored high and wanted a small cake, she'd point at her, scolding, "So materialistic. At a young age, you'll grow up to be a gold digger. Your dad will spoil you rotten someday." Thinking of this, I was about to tell her about our daughter. "Adeline, our daughter is all ready." But before I could finish, Jasper suddenly cried out in pain at the door. The next moment, Adeline didn't even bother continuing to lecture me. She rushed to Jasper's side. "Jasper, what happened?" Jasper feigned nonchalance, waving it off. "Adeline, I'm fine. Maybe the long flight triggered my old back pain. I'm okay, don't let me delay your time with family." Hearing this, Adeline shook her head. "Your health comes first. I'll take you to the hospital now." Just before leaving, Adeline seemed to remember something, turned to me, and sighed. "Seriously, Declan, let's both calm down first. When I get back, we can discuss taking our daughter out next week." But she didn't know our daughter was gone, and I had no intention of waiting for her anymore. After gathering my thoughts, I took my resignation letter and went straight to the company to resign. On the way, colleagues pointed and whispered, "Isn't that Declan? How can he still show his face here?" Yeah, asking CEO Adeline for $10,000 last month and getting thrown out by security. With his salary, how many years would he need to earn $10,000? Ignore this clown, let's go. Hearing these, I laughed at myself. 4 years, Adeline never announced our relationship, even arranged for me to be just a regular employee to avoid suspicion. I'd worked hard, even drank myself sick to secure big deals for the company. All I wanted was to become better, to make her acknowledge me and our daughter. But my promotion applications were repeatedly rejected by her. I sought her out for an explanation. She smiled, clinging to my arm, and sweetly said, "Declan, this is all to train you so you can be a better husband and father. Besides, I earn enough for us. Do you think I can't support you and our daughter, or are you trying to climb into the company's upper ranks to seize power?" I was left speechless, thinking she had her reasons. But on the day Jasper returned, she sent dozens of luxury cars to the airport. The cannon salute was deafening. That night, Jasper parachuted into the company, appointed as vice president. I realized then, love or lack thereof, the difference was obvious. Given this, there was no need to continue this ridiculous marriage. I submitted my resignation and stepped out of the company. I expected to feel heavy-hearted, but I only felt relief. For years, like a bird with clipped wings, I'd been trapped in a cage, oppressed. Now I see freedom ahead. I visited my daughter's grave, placed her favorite toys by her small tombstone, stayed with her until nightfall, then dragged my tired body home. To my surprise, upon opening the door, Adeline was unexpectedly home, waiting. "Do you know what time it is? I thought you'd learn to stay out all night on the couch." Adeline frowned, arms crossed, displeased. Her expression signaled that she wanted comfort, but I found it odd that, while Jasper's minor injuries would usually keep her by his side, she wasn't with him at the hospital today. Not my concern, so I didn't ask. Calmly, I asked, "What's up?" My cold tone made Adeline's face stiffen. No matter what happened before, I had always greeted her with a smile, but since she returned from her trip, I had been different. No arguments, no fuss. Even my gaze had lost its warmth. This made her uneasy, and she quickly said, "Are you still mad about me going with Jasper? I told you it was just to relax. Didn't our daughter always say she wanted to go to the beach? Once I'm less busy, I'll take you and her, okay?" Adeline's expression shifted, caught off guard by my icy tone. In the past, no matter what happened, I always greeted her with a smile. But ever since she returned from her trip, I had changed. I no longer argued or made a fuss, and even my gaze toward her had grown cold. This unsettled her, prompting her to speak hurriedly. "Are you still upset about me going out with Jasper? I told you it was just a break to clear my mind. Our daughter has always wanted to go to the beach, right? Once things settle down, I'll take you both. How about that?" Her attempt at reconciliation felt more like a condescending gesture. My daughter and I were like pets, amusing when she was in a good mood and pushed aside when she wasn't. Suddenly, Adeline seemed to remember something and looked at me curiously. "Wait, where's our daughter? I haven't seen her since I got back. Did you send her to your mom's?" I stared at her in disbelief. She had been back for 2 days and was only now asking about our daughter. It was clear she didn't truly care about our daughter or this family. Before I could respond, Jasper emerged from the bathroom wearing my bathrobe. Seeing me, he was unfazed, acting as if he owned the place, and warmly invited me in. "Declan, come on in. Make yourself comfortable." I was momentarily speechless, looking questioningly at Adeline on the sofa. "Why is he here?" Sensing my expression, Adeline awkwardly explained, "Jasper hasn't been well, so I brought him here to look after him. Don't overthink it." I suddenly understood. No wonder Adeline was home tonight, it was all for Jasper. She seemed relieved, adding, "It's a good thing you sent our daughter to your mom's beforehand. Otherwise, it would have been inconvenient with so many people here." I found it ironic. She hadn't even noticed our daughter's absence, her mind solely occupied with Jasper. Jasper feigned remorse, saying, "It's all my fault for disrupting your married life, Declan. I'm just here temporarily. You aren't upset, right?" But his eyes were filled with smugness and a challenge. Adeline, anxious to avoid conflict, quickly interjected, "Declan, don't worry. Jasper and I agreed he'd sleep on the sofa. He won't disturb us." But the next moment, I saw pity in her eyes for him. How could she bear to let Jasper sleep on a cold sofa? If I hadn't come back suddenly, she would have cradled him in her arms. Thinking of this, I said, "Since his back is bad, he shouldn't sleep on the sofa. He should sleep in the master bedroom." Jasper's face lit up with delight at my words. "Really? Declan, you're so generous." Adeline also breathed a sigh of relief. "Declan, I'm glad you see it this way. I was worried you'd be jealous of Jasper and make a scene." She thought I had matured and wouldn't argue over such trivial matters. I was leaving anyway, so why should it matter to me where he stays? As Adeline joyfully led Jasper into the master bedroom, I quietly packed my bags, ready to stay at a hotel. But as I reached the door, Adeline emerged from the bedroom and stopped me. "Declan, it's late. Where are you going?" I smiled faintly. "To give you and Jasper some space, of course." Upon hearing this, Adeline's expression turned grim, and she gritted her teeth. "What do you mean by that, Declan?" I already explained. "It's because of Jasper's back pain that I brought him here temporarily. You're the one who agreed to let him stay in. She assumed I loved her too much to really leave. But from the moment our daughter died, my love for her vanished. I would never forgive her." I chuckled coldly, grabbed my suitcase and left. Adeline stared at my back in disbelief, unable to comprehend. It wasn't until I got in the elevator that I heard her shout, "Go on. If you leave, don't come back." But she didn't realize I truly wouldn't return. She had lost me forever. At the hotel, I slept peacefully. The next morning, I woke up to dozens of missed calls, all from Adeline. The last call was half an hour ago. I was surprised she hadn't slept all night. "The master bedroom. What are you doing now? Don't you have any sympathy?" Her words were endless, but I found them amusing. I used to argue with her about Jasper, and she'd call me immature and unreasonable. Now that I was mature and didn't argue, she was unhappy again. Jasper pretended to sob. I knew Declan was still mad at me. "It's all my fault. I should just suffer on the street." His poor acting fooled Adeline, who then shielded Jasper. "Jasper, you're staying here today. I'd like to see who dares to kick you out." Crossing her arms, she coldly said to me, "You've grown bold. Go ahead, leave if you dare." She assumed I loved her too much to really leave. But from the moment our daughter died, my love for her vanished. I would never forgive her. I chuckled coldly, grabbed my suitcase and left. Adeline stared at my back in disbelief, unable to comprehend. It wasn't until I got in the elevator that I heard her shout, "Go on. If you leave, don't come back." But she didn't realize I truly wouldn't return. She had lost me forever. At the hotel, I slept peacefully. The next morning, I woke up to dozens of missed calls, all from Adeline. The last call was half an hour ago. I was surprised she hadn't slept all night. She used to tell me to be more tolerant and not argue with Jasper. When did she become so petty? When I opened the door, Adeline sat tiredly in a chair. Seeing me, her eyes immediately welled up. "Just because I let Jasper stay with us, you're leaving and quitting your job?" I didn't answer directly, but asked, frowning, "How did you know I was here?" Adeline's voice was hoarse. "I checked your bank transactions." I suddenly remembered that not long after we married, Adeline took control of our finances, monitoring my and our daughter's expenses closely. Even the bank cards were under her name. Looks like I won't be needing that card anymore. But I was puzzled. Shouldn't she be at home taking care of Jasper? Why was she here? Adeline, unusually gentle, took my hand. "I know you're still mad about last night. So this morning, after Jasper felt a bit better, I sent him away. Don't worry, he slept on the sofa." I looked at her in disbelief. She never used to explain these things. Whenever I argued with her about them, she'd call me petty and narrow-minded. But now, without me asking, she kept talking in my ear. I felt annoyed and pushed her away, expressionless. "Are you done? I need to go to an interview." Recently, I'd sent out many resumes and received offers from several big companies. But just as I was about to leave, Adeline, tearful, grabbed me, her voice trembling. "Declan, must you be so heartless? Jasper and I grew up together. I just want him to be well. Is that wrong? Besides, haven't I been good to you and our daughter? Haven't I paid for everything you and our daughter needed all these years? Do you think this is fair to me?" Her confident words felt ironic. She only gave us $200 a month, barely enough for basic needs, let alone school or commuting. To feed our daughter, I worked 3 part-time jobs after work. Yet, I couldn't gather the $10,000 for surgery and watched as our daughter died on the operating table. Tearfully, Adeline softly said, "Declan, stop this, come home with our daughter. Let's live happily as a family, okay?" Her pitiful look only amused me. Why should I act like her obedient dog, doing whatever she says? Seeing my stern face, she reluctantly offered, "Then, I'll raise your and our daughter's allowance to $500 a month. Didn't our daughter want to go to the beach? Let's go today, okay? Look, I even bought her the swimsuit she always wanted." She finished, looking at me expectantly. She thought her offer was tempting enough that I couldn't refuse. I sneered coldly, "You want to take our daughter to the beach? Then come with me." Adeline had no idea what was coming. She thought I'd forgiven her. As she followed me to the car, she joked, "We've been together so long, and you still have surprises for me? All right, I'll humor you and check it out." But when I drove to our daughter's grave, Adeline looked confused. "Declan, weren't we going to your mom's to see our daughter? Why did you bring me here?" I gave a bitter chuckle. "You want to take our daughter to the beach, right? Then follow me." Adeline had no idea what was coming. She thought I'd forgiven her. Even as she got into the car with me, she joked with a playful smile. "We've been together for so long, and you're still planning surprises for me? All right, I'll humor you and come along." But when I drove to our daughter's grave, Adeline looked puzzled. "Declan, weren't you taking me to your mom's to see our daughter? Why did you bring me here?" The moment Adeline saw our daughter's photo on the tombstone, the swimsuit she had bought slipped from her hands. Become Swipple, read all SVIP stories. What is this?" Adeline stumbled back, her eyes wide with shock and disbelief, her voice trembling. I said coldly, "As you can see, our daughter is gone, buried here. She died on the operating table because you wouldn't give the money for her surgery. Are you satisfied now?" My tone was brutally direct. But when Adeline realized what was happening, she glared at me in anger. "Impossible. You must be lying to me. She was fine when I left. How could she suddenly die?" "Declan, this is childish. I just went out with Jasper for a few days, and you're so jealous that you made up this story to get back at me." Her eyes were cold as she threatened, "Where is our daughter? Hand her over. I'm worried you'll corrupt her." Seeing her refusal to face reality, I calmly took out our daughter's medical records and death certificate from my bag. "If you still don't believe me, you can call to Confirm." Adeline gritted her teeth and defiantly said, "Fine, I'll confirm it right now." She dialed the hospital's number, but as she listened, her face grew paler. It was quiet around us, but I could still hear her conversation with the doctor. The doctor's voice was filled with pity and regret. That little girl was so unfortunate. If only the surgery could have been done with $10,000, she could have survived, but alas. Whatever the doctor said next, Adeline couldn't hear. Because at that moment, something inside her broke. She looked up at me, her voice trembling. "So when you asked me for $10,000 that day, it really was for her surgery and not a lie?" I pressed my lips together, pain. It was silent around us, yet Adeline's mind was filled with turmoil. Is this really our daughter's grave? "Declan, why are you just standing there? Say something." Adeline's eyes were red as she shouted at me. For a moment, I felt a lump in my throat. I shook my head sadly, All these years, I never wanted to threaten your position or take your inheritance. My biggest wish with our daughter was for you to love us a little more. So even when you only gave us $200 a month for living expenses, I never complained. Because our daughter loved you, and I wanted to give her a complete family. But I never thought that this small wish would become an unattainable dream. Because of your narrow-mindedness, our daughter died. You are the one who killed her. By the end, I was sobbing uncontrollably. For the first time, a trace of panic appeared on Adeline's usually composed face. She rushed over and grabbed my hand. No, it's not like that. Declan, let me explain. I just didn't want our daughter to become materialistic. I didn't intend to hurt her, I didn't know. Get away. I coldly shook off her hand, feeling a raging fire inside consuming my sanity. Even at this moment, her first thought was to argue, not to repent at our daughter's grave. I felt our daughter's death was in vain. Adeline, let's get a divorce. I never thought those words would come out of my mouth, but now my toe was extremely calm. Adeline was stunned, unable to believe her ears. I looked at her and spoke coldly. While you were out on your world tour, I thought a lot. Maybe we really aren't from the same world, and that's why so much misfortune happened. And now it's time to end all of this. My ideal was just to live a stable, simple life with my wife and daughter. But Adeline loved power and excitement. We were two parallel lines that crossed due to some mistake, leading to this tragedy. Now, I just want to quickly end this mistake. I thought Adeline didn't care much for me or our daughter, so she would accept all of this calmly. But to my surprise, Adeline panicked and hugged me tightly, pleading desperately. Declan, I know our daughter's death hit you hard, but don't act rashly. Let's talk this through. But just as she finished speaking, she got a call from Jasper. Something happened to me, Adeline. Can you come quickly? On the phone, Jasper's voice had a hint of tears. Seeing this, I just chuckled coldly. If you're busy, you can go. I'll stay here with our daughter. I thought Adeline would leave me without hesitation to care for Jasper. Because this had happened many times before, and I was used to it. But this time, Adeline hesitated, then hung up on Jasper and pleaded with me. Declan, I don't want to be with Jasper, I just want to be with you. I'm really sorry about our daughter's death, but it wasn't intentional. I'll raise your living expenses to $10,000 a month, just don't divorce me, okay? I was stunned, looking at Adeline. In my memory, this was the first time she chose me over Jasper. But it didn't matter anymore. My heart had been shattered by her too many times, and no matter how hard she tried to piece it back, it could never be the same. I took out the divorce papers I had prepared and handed them over. No need. I won't take your money or anything. I just hope after the divorce, you won't disturb me and our daughter's life. Adeline's eyes were red as she tore up the divorce papers. Who said I agreed to divorce you? I will never sign. Seeing her crazed state, I shook my head and left. Because I had already talked with a company and was preparing to work abroad as the project manager for overseas projects. In a few days, I would leave the city with my daughter for good. Even if Adeline didn't sign the divorce papers, we were over. Adeline returned home in a daze. But as soon as she opened the door, she was stunned. Because she found that both Declan's and our daughter Anna's things were completely gone. She searched for a long time but couldn't find a trace of them in the house. That's when she realized, Declan was serious. He didn't want her anymore. Loneliness and helplessness overwhelmed Adeline like a tidal wave. She sat powerlessly on the carpet, her eyes vacant as she stared at the floor, like a soulless shell. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Adeline's eyes brightened, and she jumped up to open it with joy. Declan, I knew. Her words stopped halfway, because it wasn't Declan at the door, but Jasper. Oh, it's you. Why are you here? She said, turning away coldly and sitting back on the sofa, staring blankly at the floor again. Jasper was slightly taken aback by Adeline's coldness, feeling a bit uncomfortable. However, he still spoke as usual, with a hint of grievance. Why did you hang up on me? Adeline, who used to treat Jasper like a treasure, had no intention of comforting him now. Instead, she felt irritated by his questioning. I had something to do. What's wrong? She replied casually. Jasper immediately stretched out a finger pitifully, tears in his eyes. I tried to make you something to eat earlier, but I was clumsy and cut my finger. If it had been before, Adeline would have held his finger tenderly, even gently sucking on it, afraid he might feel any pain. But now, her brow furrowed slightly. Jasper's finger only had a small cut, barely noticeable, and would have healed soon if left alone. Did he really need to call her for such a trivial matter? She couldn't help but think of me, because I had always been strong and independent, never complaining about such small injuries. Thinking of this, Adeline absent-mindedly said, the first aid kit is in the cabinet, take care of it yourself. I'm a bit tired and want to rest. Adeline furrowed her brow subtly. Jasper had nothing more than a small cut on his finger, something that would have healed on its own if unnoticed a bit longer. Did he really need to call her over something so trivial? It reminded her of Declan, who was always strong and independent, never complaining about minor injuries like this. Thinking of him, Adeline distractedly said, the first aid kit is in the cabinet. Take care of it yourself. I'm feeling a bit tired and would like to rest. Jasper was taken aback. It was the first time he felt neglected by Adeline. Unwilling to let it slide, he held Adeline's hand, attempting a smile he thought was charming, and murmured, Adeline, I actually called because I miss you. In the past, Jasper's antics had been novel and exciting to her. But now, the smell of smoke clinging to him was nauseating, and his deliberately open shirt buttons seemed greasy. A wave of disgust surged through her. She suddenly stood, shook off Jasper's hand, and snapped, What are you doing? I'm married now. Jasper stared at her in shock. So what if you're married? You don't even love Declan. Is there a need for such a strong reaction? Adeline's face turned pale. Who says I don't love Declan? Jasper smirked. If you really loved him, would you only give Declan $200 for living expenses each month? Do you even know the cost of living here? $200 isn't enough for food. And when your daughter was hospitalized for her heart condition, you didn't provide surgery costs and instead went on a world tour with me. And now you're pretending to be a good wife and mother. Are you out of your mind? Jasper's words stunned Adeline, leaving her in disbelief. So, you knew all along that my daughter was seriously ill? Jasper's silence was an admission. Tears immediately streamed down Adeline's face. If you knew, why didn't you tell me? If you had told me, my daughter wouldn't have died. My daughter, my Anna. Adeline was inconsolable. Jasper looked at her, puzzled. Really? I thought you and Declan just had a kid for fun. Did you actually think of yourself as a mother? Besides, your daughter's death is your own doing. What does it have to do with me? Adeline's face turned ghostly white. What did you say? Didn't you say that a daughter should be raised frugally, or she become materialistic when grown? You also said Declan was just a poor guy from the countryside, and he might be after my money, so I should be careful. That's why I strictly controlled his expenses. I did all this because I believed you. Jasper laughed mockingly, lighting a cigarette. After a few puffs, he said nonchalantly, Are you an idiot? Don't you have your own judgment? You believe whatever I say. Also, I did say a child should be raised frugally, but I didn't expect you take it so far, giving just $200 a month for living expenses. Declan worked 3 part-time jobs after his regular job. Even your daughter went around collecting discarded bottles to sell for money to help out. Jasper's expression turned mocking. Do you know what other kids called your daughter behind her back? They called her a worthless rag, used and thrown away. Adeline was stunned, unable to believe any of it. Because I never mentioned any of this to her, she painfully murmured, Why didn't you say anything? If life was so hard for you and our daughter, why didn't you tell me? But she didn't know. I had mentioned it countless times. Each time she thought I was greedy trying to get more, and she rejected my requests outright. Jasper saw Adeline's reaction and looked at her strangely. Adeline, what's wrong? Didn't you always look down on Declan too? He's just a country bumpkin. Now that he's gone, you should be happy. Moreover, that daughter of yours was just a worthless brat. It's better she's gone. Less of a burden. Saying this, Jasper leaned closer with a malicious smile. Adeline, let's not waste time. Let's spend the night together. At that moment, Jasper's image in Adeline's heart completely shattered. The first love she had cherished for so many years turned out to be so vile and repulsive. And I, on the other hand, always centered my life around her, loving and respecting her. Seeing Jasper reaching out towards her, in a panic, Adeline picked up the scissors from the table and screamed, Get out! Get away from me! Jasper was startled by Adeline's hysterical appearance, retreating a few steps with a pale face. Adeline, have you gone mad? I'm not crazy. Adeline screamed at the top of her lungs. It's all your fault. You kept telling me to raise my daughter frugally, hinting that I should distance myself from Declan, and you even suggested I shouldn't pay my daughter's medical expenses. That's why she died on the operating table. She was so young. My daughter's death is all your fault. Give me back my daughter. Adeline's emotions grew more intense, finally lunging at Jasper in a frenzy. Jasper couldn't dodge in time, and half of his face was instantly pierced by the scissors in Adeline's hand, blood gushing out. Damn it, you're crazy. You lunatic. Jasper cursed as he was terrified by the frenzied Adeline. Not caring about the hideous wound on his face, he scrambled away. And Adeline sat amidst the blood, tears of regret streaming down her face. She immediately dialed my number, but all she got in return was the busy tone of an unanswered call. She messaged me, I'm sorry. I really know I was wrong. Can we talk? But as she pressed send, the red exclamation point taunted her. At this moment, I was at my new company, discussing an overseas assignment with my new boss. The boss was also a strong woman, but unlike Adeline, she was mature and decisive, with eyes as gentle as water, exuding the charm unique to mature women. She was pleased to see me and patted my shoulder, saying, Great, the company just expanded its market overseas, and we're in need of a technical talent like you. But according to the information I have, you've been working as a regular employee in a small company for the past few years. Isn't that a bit of a waste? To her query, I simply smiled and replied truthfully, I used to work under my wife, but I've come to my senses and am preparing for a divorce. She paused for a moment, then offered comforting words like a seasoned advisor, losing you is her loss. Work hard here, and I promise within half a year, you'll achieve financial freedom. We had a pleasant conversation and were about to arrange dinner together. Unexpectedly, right at the company entrance, I saw Adeline. Adeline looked disheveled, her hair messy, and her makeup long ruined from crying. Seeing me, she ignored the stares of others and rushed into my arms. Declan, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I shouldn't have been so narrow-minded. I've come to my senses. I won't limit your spending anymore. I'll give you as much as you want. Please come home with me, I'm begging you, okay? I thought I had made myself clear, but she continued to cling to me. I coldly pushed her away and repeated firmly, I'm sorry. We're getting a divorce. I don't have feelings for you anymore. Please don't disturb my life again. Seeing my distress, my boss stepped in to help. Ma'am, I don't know what happened between you and Declan, but since he's said this much, perhaps it's best to leave each other with some dignity. Unexpectedly, Adeline shouted hysterically, "This is between my husband and me. Who are you to butt in?" Seeing her unstable state, I was worried she might accidentally harm my boss, so I stepped in front of her and said coldly, "Adeline, we're already separated. Watch your tone, or I'll call the police." Adeline stared at me, dumbfounded. "You're yelling at me for a stranger? Is it because of this woman that you want to divorce me?" She deliberately shouted loudly, attracting a crowd of onlookers. Some people, unaware of the situation, started pointing fingers at me and my boss. Seeing this, she seemed to gain confidence and threatened me, "Declan, if you don't come back with me, I'll expose this and ruin your reputation, making it impossible for you to find a job." She thought this would make me obediently return with her. But I just laughed mockingly. "Adeline, don't be naive. You claim to love me, but where were you when my daughter and I couldn't afford lunch? When she couldn't pay her school fees, when she was lying in the operating room in agony, where were you? The only person you ever cared about was yourself." Seeing the situation, she seemed to muster some nerve and warned me, "Declan, if you don't come back with me, I'll go public with this and destroy your reputation. You'll never find a job again." She assumed her words would make me comply and return with her. But I just gave a derisive smile. "Adeline, don't be so naive. You say you love me, but where were you when our daughter and I couldn't afford lunch? When our daughter couldn't pay her tuition, and when she was in the operating room, suffering in pain, where were you then? You've only ever cared about yourself." Adeline seemed to lose all her strength and sank to the ground, still murmuring, "No, Declan, I love you and our daughter." I shook my head. "No, that's not love, it's just control and possessiveness. The only thing I can do for our daughter is to completely free her from your grasp." With that, my boss and I left without another glance at Adeline. While having dinner with my boss, the video of my confrontation with Adeline at the company entrance went viral as a trending topic. The comment section was filled with criticism against Adeline. Meanwhile, Jasper, now disfigured, publicly accused Adeline's company of illegal activities and tax evasion, demanding hefty compensation. Rumors spread quickly. Within minutes, Adeline's company's stock price plummeted significantly. My boss asked me how I felt after seeing the news. I was silent for a moment, then smiled. "Right now, I just want to work hard, earn money, and start a new life abroad with my daughter." My boss gave a knowing smile and suddenly handed me a document. "Want to take a look?" Curious, I opened it and found it was a transfer agreement for an overseas luxury cemetery, worth at least $1 million. I looked at my boss in surprise. He calmly said, "This is a reward for your dedication to your daughter. I hope you won't disappoint me." At that moment, words couldn't express my feelings. I could only work hard to repay my boss for his kindness. 2 days later, I went to the airport with my daughter's ashes. Unexpectedly, just before boarding, Adeline appeared at the airport and spotted me in the crowd. "Honey, let's go home together. I'll give you all my money." She pulled out a small card from her pocket, nervously handing it to me. But it wasn't a bank card, just a piece of colored paper. Her eyes kept darting around, as if she was afraid of something. I was startled by her mental state and stepped back. The next moment, a group of psychiatric hospital staff arrived and restrained Adeline. "Sorry, sir, due to our oversight, the patient got out. I heard her daughter died, her husband left her, and her company went bankrupt. She owes a lot of money. She's quite pitiful." The doctor sighed while escorting Adeline out of the terminal. Watching them leave, I didn't feel sorry for Adeline at all. She brought this upon herself.